So you might hear some announcements while I'm reading, but I'll pause for those announcements and you can hear all the train announcements as we go. Galileo. We're in the section called Rosa Ursina. Ursina means bear, so I'm not sure why it's called Rosa Ursina. Galileo. It was not long before the professor of mathematics at the University of Padua heard about the telescope. Galileo Galilei said he was, quote, seized with a desire for the beautiful thing, end quote. At 45 years old, Galileo knew an opportunity when he saw one, and he reasoned that the device, two lenses and a tube, could not be all that difficult to construct. If he could present one quickly enough to the Venetian Senate, a rich reward, or a pension, would be his, and he certainly needed the money. A pension is basically money that is given to you repeatedly. People who retire get a pension. There was no time to lose. Spyglass salesmen were in Padua, and some had plans to go to Venice. Galileo sent word to the Venetian Senate not to accept any rival claims for the instrument, and a few weeks later he had made one. On the 25th of August, 1609, Galileo led a procession of Venetian senators across the Piazza San Marco and up a tower so that they could look across Venice and out to the sea, where they saw ships. There's the announcements. Where they saw ships several hours before they could be picked up by the unaided eye. He got his reward, a five-fold increase in salary for life. Gambiottista della Porta protested and said he had done such a thing 20 years earlier in a book he wrote about the concaves and convexes, but he had failed to see the potential of the telescope. But then, even Galileo failed to realize just how revolutionary it really was. Galileo went a little too far, however, when he sold the councilors of Venice the exclusive right to the manufacture of the telescope. When they realized it was worthless, they asked for their money back. In October 1609, on a visit to Florence, Galileo showed his telescope to his former pupil, Cosimo de' Medici, now the Grand Duke, and together they looked at the moon. But the view was poor, and Galileo thought the telescope could be improved. By November, it had been, and so, with a telescope capable of magnifying up to 20 times tucked under his arm, he walked into his garden in Padua and pointed his so-called perspiculum towards the moon. It was one of those rare moments when the universe changed, when the speculations and prejudices of antiquity fell away. Galileo would call his telescope the, quote, old discoverer, end quote, and it can still be seen at Arcetri near Florence. Indeed, can Galileo's preserved finger, which first pointed the way toward the new heavens. We should go see his finger. He knew that what he was seeing was revolutionary, and he rushed into preparing a book. He produced watercolors for it, and the Sidereus Nuncius, or Starry Messenger, appeared the following March to unfold great and wonderful sights to the gaze of everyone. Changing the page. Galileo's early observations were direct observations of the sun through the telescope at sunset. He does not describe the procedure, but notes that when we look at the brilliant solar disk through the telescope, it appears much brighter than the field which surrounds it. He describes the sunspots, the smallest of them, when observed through the telescope, scarcely be perceived, and only with fatigue and injury to the eyes. I am going to finish this in a little bit.